Imagine waking up in 2026 with a 1982 mindset. Meet Arthur. In his timeline, he bought a 4-bedroom house at age 22 just by working a normal job at a local hardware store. But today, Arthur wakes up, opens a modern banking app, and gets hit with a $2,500 rent bill for a tiny studio apartment. He walks into a store to buy some basic groceries, and the total is $35. Confused and angry, he marches downtown to demand a better paying job with a firm handshake, and immediately gets rejected by an automated AI algorithm. Welcome to the modern economy, Arthur. So Arthur needs a job, and he needs one fast because that $2,500 rent bill is due in 3 weeks. Back in 1982, Arthur's job hunting strategy was simple. You put on a nice suit, you print out 3 copies of your resume on thick paper, and you walk straight into the local factory or corporate office. You ask to speak directly to the boss, look him in the eye, give him a firm handshake, and boom, you start on Monday. Arthur tries that today. He walks into a modern glass office building downtown. He walks up to the front desk and says, "I want to speak to the boss." The security guard looks at him like he's speaking an alien language. The guard tells him, "Sir, you can't be in here without a badge. Apply online." And that's where Arthur's nightmare truly begins. He opens a laptop and discovers the psychological torture chamber known as LinkedIn and Indeed. He finds an entry-level position. The salary is barely above minimum wage, but then he reads the requirements, looking for an entry-level associate. Must have a master's degree and 5 years of direct industry experience. Arthur is staring at the screen, trying to understand how an entry-level job requires 5 years of experience. The math isn't mathing, but he applies anyway. He spends 3 hours uploading his resume only to realize he has to manually retype every single piece of information from his resume into their broken website text boxes. And guess what happens next? Nothing. Arthur doesn't even get a rejection email from a human. He gets filtered out in 0.4 seconds by an applicant tracking system, an AI bot designed to throw away resumes that don't use the exact right buzzwords. If he's lucky enough to bypass the bot, he gets invited to a modern hiring process. In 1982, a job interview was a 20-minute chat over coffee. In 2026, Arthur has to do a one-way video interview where he records himself talking to a blank screen, then a panel interview, then a take-home assignment that requires 8 hours of free labor, and finally, after 5 rounds of interviews over 2 months, the company just ghosts him. Arthur quickly realizes that in today's world, nobody cares about your work ethic or your firm handshake. You are just a number in a database. Let's say Arthur finally lands a job. He's making the average modern salary about $50,000 a year. He feels good. He thinks, all right, time to do what I did in 1982, time to buy a house. He walks into a bank, sits down with the loan officer and says, "I have a steady job. I want to buy a standard 3-bedroom home for my family." In 1982, the average house cost around $70,000. The average income was around $20,000. That means a house cost roughly 3 times your annual salary. If you saved up for a couple of years, you owned a piece of land. The bank officer looks at Arthur's modern salary and pulls up the current housing market. The average house price today is over $400,000. In major cities, it's way higher. That means a house now costs 8, 10, or 12 times the average annual income. Arthur says, "Okay, so what do I need for a down payment? I saved up $5,000? The bank officer literally laughs. "Sir, you need at least $80,000 just for the down payment. And with current interest rates, your monthly mortgage payment will be $3,000. Arthur's jaw drops. His entire monthly take-home pay after taxes is barely $3,500. If he buys a house, he will have $500 left for the entire month to pay for food, gas, electricity, and insurance. So Arthur is forced to rent. He looks at apartments. He realizes that landlords now demand that your monthly income be 3 times the rent. They want a credit score check, a background check, a reference from your previous 3 landlords, and a non-refundable application fee just to look at the place. And once he moves in, he realizes he doesn't even own the walls he sleeps in, yet he's paying off someone else's mortgage while his own savings account sits at 0. For the first time in his life, Arthur realizes that working hard doesn't guarantee a home anymore. The American dream didn't just fade, it was priced out of existence. Back in 1982, when Arthur bought something, he owned it. He bought a car. It was his. He bought a vinyl record. He could keep it forever. He bought a TV. He paid for it once and watched it until the tubes blew up. The only monthly bills Arthur had were electricity, water, and maybe a landline telephone if he felt fancy. But in the modern economy, Arthur quickly discovers a terrifying concept, the subscription trap. Today, you don't own anything. You just rent your entire life. Arthur wants to listen to music while he works. He tries to buy an album. Nope, everything is on Spotify. That's $12 a month. He wants to watch a movie after a long day of work. He remembers when TV was free with an antenna. Now, if he wants to watch his favorite movies or catch a live football game, he has to stack Netflix, Max, and a sports streaming package. That's easily another $60 a month gone. He needs Microsoft Word and Photoshop for his new job. In the old days, he bought a program in a box or on a floppy disk, and it was his forever. Now, Adobe and Microsoft want a monthly fee until he dies. If he stops paying, his work tools vanish. Even cars are turning into subscriptions. Arthur looks at a modern car and realizes that companies are literally putting heated seats behind a monthly monthly paywall. The technology is already inside the car. But if you don't pay the corporation $18 a month, they software lock your seats so you freeze in the winter. And then Arthur goes to the grocery store. This is the final blow. In 1982, a dollar could actually buy you a meal. Arthur walks into a supermarket today, grabs a carton of eggs, a gallon of milk, some chicken breasts, and a bag of coffee. He goes to the self-checkout machine, which forces him to do the cashier's job for free, and the screen says $32.50. He looks closer at the packaging. The cereal box is narrower. The chip bag is 70% air. He's experiencing shrinkflation in real time. Companies are charging twice as much for 20% less product. By the end of his first month, Arthur looks at his bank account. Between his rent, his car payment, his health insurance deductible, his Wi-Fi bill, his phone data plan, and his groceries, his entire paycheck is completely wiped out. He didn't buy any luxury items. He didn't go out to bars. He didn't go on a vacation. He just existed. Arthur sits on his cheap rented sofa staring at the ceiling. He used to look at younger generations and think they were just complaining. He used to think, if you want a house, just work more hours. If you want a better job, just look harder. But now that he's in the arena, he sees the truth. The rules of the game completely changed while the players were sleeping. In 1982, the economy had flaws, but the path to a stable life was straightforward. If you put in 40 hours of honest work a week, the system rewarded you with a house, a family, and a retirement plan. In today's economy, you can do everything right. You can get the degree, work the 50-hour weeks, skip the expensive coffees, and you will still find yourself one medical emergency or one corporate layoff away from absolute ruin. The older generation isn't smarter because they achieved financial stability, and the younger generation isn't lazy because they are struggling. Today, everyone else is forced to play it on hard mode with a broken controller. Let me know in the comments below, if you could bring back one economic rule from the 1980s into today's world, what would it be?